Good morning, Chairman Gray and Chairman Thomas and members of the Committee of the Whole. And thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today regarding the Bullying Prevention Act of 2010 and the Harassment and Intimidation Prevention Act of 2010. I'm here representing SMILE, the Sexual Minority Youth Assistance League. As you may know, SMILE is a community-based organization solely focused on providing support to the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning youth of the Metro DC area. I'm here this morning to express my support for both the Bullying Prevention Act of 2010 and the Harassment and Intimidation Prevention Act of 2010, which address the urgent issue of bullying in our city's schools, libraries, and recreational facilities. The District of Columbia is one of only a handful of jurisdictions without an anti-bullying and harassment law, and the proposed legislation is based on model policy that includes a strong definition of bullying and identifies clear measures to support teachers, youth service professionals, and youth in preventing bullying from occurring and addressing it when it does. I urge the Committee of the Whole to ensure this bill is passed and fully implemented. Although bullying affects all young people, social science research continues to show that LGBTQ youth are disproportionately impacted. According to the 2007 DC Youth Risk Behavior Survey, lesbian, gay, and bisexual youth are more than twice as likely to report being harassed on school property as their heterosexual peers. LGBT youth are also more likely to report being threatened or injured with a weapon on school property and to report missing school because they feel unsafe at school or on their way to or from school. Although the 2007 DC Youth Risk Behavior Survey did not include transgender youth in its demographic questions, I am certain this survey of DC transgender youth would reveal similar disparities. And I used the 2007 data because unfortunately the 2009 data was not considered statistically usable by CDC. These statistics mirror the individual stories SMILE hears from its young people every day. Our LGBTQ youth frequently report being verbally and physically harassed, threatened, and assaulted while they're at school, and that teachers and school administrators do not always intervene appropriately or address the issue if they report it. The pervasiveness of bullying and harassment of LGBTQ youth in our schools has very real and very grim consequences. It places LGBTQ youth at risk for dropping out of school, suffering from mental health issues, and even considering suicide. The current policies in DC public schools have not been adequate to address bullying, and there are fewer protections in place for DC public charter schools, the Department of Parks and Recreation, DC public libraries, and the University of the District of Columbia. The Bullying Prevention Act of 2010 and the Harassment and Intimidation Prevention Act of 2010 create a robust policy for all these agencies, which includes implementing bullying prevention programs and ensuring youth have a clear channel to report incidents and ensure they are addressed. If passed, this bill would help make our schools and youth spaces safer for LGBTQ youth, a population all too often overlooked, and would help ensure they receive the educational and extracurricular opportunities that all youth deserve. I urge the DC City Council to pass this legislation and ensure it is fully implemented. Thank you.
Mr. Musanti's position is that the charter school law is written in such a way to say that charter schools will make those determinations. My concern is what happens if we have a gap, in what the policies are, what the enforcement consequences are in individual schools. I'm sure some will have very aggressive policies, some may not. So what would the position of SMILE be on that?
Well, I would share your concerns, Mr. Chairman. I think that it's great to hear that all of the charter schools have policies on the books, and I know that we have youth who attend charter schools.
He said 28 of them that he knows about. That's about it.
Well, they've responded so far.
A little more than half, yeah.
Yes, and we have youth who attend charter schools who have great experiences in their charter schools. I think that one of the key wonderful things about the legislation we're discussing today is that it's not just a policy. It's actually a very robust policy that enumerates the different categories for which people are often bullied. It identifies ways in which the policy will be published and made available to students and teachers, and identifies what the next steps are if a student is encountering a situation where he or she is being bullied. So I think that although it is great to hear that the 28 out of 28 reporting say they have policies, I think what is really important is to make sure that those policies include all of these key provisions. The legislation we're discussing today is based on a model policy that has been shown to be effective not only in addressing bullying but also in making students feel safer, and I know that folks from GLSEN earlier today testified about that. So I think that in short, I have the same concerns you do. I think that I understand that a one-size-fits-all approach might not be work the same way in our public charter schools, but I think that This is an issue that's impacting all students. And yes, the group of students in a certain charter school may be different than the group of students in another charter school, but we know that bullying and harassment and homophobia and violence against LGBT people are not specific to individual groups in our society. It's something that pervades our entire culture.